Welcome to the Movement and Performance Podcast, where I help connect people to physical activities and reconnecting with their body. Today we're doing an episode on lacrosse, all things lacrosse, a little bit of the history, culture, some skill conversation as well. I have two individuals here with me today that I'll let them introduce themselves before we get started.
Hi, Claudia, Jimerson.
Yeah.
I am Cayuga Nation Bear Clan, and I am the Director of Women's Lacrosse Operations for the Haudenosaunee Nationals.
I'm Jalyn Jimerson. I am Cayuga Nation Bear Clan, 23 years old, and I'm a player for Haudenosaunee Nationals.
Awesome. Bear Clan. I can't wait to talk about the animal piece. So we're going to dive right into it. The first question I have. So either of you can choose to answer, but one of the episodes I had someone on, a gentleman named Konishiki, and he was a sumo guy. And one of the things that he said was sumo is the embodiment of Japan. And what he meant is that like the sport really is a physical representation of the culture in many ways. And so the question to you is, in regard to lacrosse, would you say that lacrosse is the embodiment of the Haudenosaunee Nation in a way?
Yeah, I would agree. Wouldn't you, Jay? I think the biggest thing is that it's tied to so many things. Before growing up, you love to play the game, so you play it. So that's what lacrosse is to us, the game. But when you start learning more about it and you really start getting the feeling of the love of the game and the feeling that it's something special, it really transcends beyond the sport itself. And especially in this last year, I've really been awakened to that fact, seeing, as we're trying to pursue the Olympics, like how much more is involved with the game. It's really, has to do with our sovereignty as a people, our recognition as a people. It has to do with our culture. It has to do with medicine. It has to do with spirit and healing. It has all these other things that are involved that are critical components of our culture. We believe, our culture is based on three main principles, which is peace, righteousness, and health, and healing, and those kinds of things. So lacrosse is all of that. It's really helped us settle disputes in the past. It's helped us heal the sick. It helps bring people together. So it really is powerful, and it's helped giving our people a voice. It's helped us, educate people and letting people know that we're still here. Because a lot of people, number one, don't know that our Indigenous people are still here, and number two, where the game comes from, which is our Indigenous Haudenosaunee people.
So quick little summary, like really getting an understanding of the terms and the proper terms and what they're supposed to be. Saying as a Brooklyn kid, it's kind of hard to get that information and to get it from a good source, and especially it's something I do want to know. But so when I grew up, Iroquois is the term that I know, but that's not the term anymore. Can you give me like a little history of or not even the history, just what are the proper terms, and then what's the name of the nation, how to pronounce it, and then the 6 nations within?
So I was sitting down with my grandpa the other day, and like when you say like Haudenosaunee, they could say people of the Longhouse. But he was like talking to me the other day. He goes, "It's actually builders of the Longhouse," which like I never heard of before. So that was like quite interesting to me, because you always just hear people of the Longhouse. So that's that translation of being Haudenosaunee. But then I feel like Iroquois, that was a French term that was brought up, and that translates to snake eaters. So I feel like some people, that was like kind of like a little bit of a controversy of being called Iroquois Nationals or Haudenosaunee Nationals. But I think the program as a whole that came with it like represented so much that I didn't think it meant like the name or like the translation of it. I think we all wanted to be recognized as, Indigenous people. So that was kind of something that had to have an overview, and like a lot of people had to come together to like reflect about it.
So Iroquois is outdated, right?
Correct.
Can we say that?
It's a derogatory term.
Derogatory term.
We have our own people that still like to be referred to as that. And it's kind of like you could go ahead and go by a name that's given to you by the French. We prefer a name that we give ourselves. So, and really, you know, when we first changed our name from Iroquois Nationals to Haudenosaunee Nationals, so many people were like, we're not going to be able to pronounce that. We're not going to be able to, how do you pronounce it? And now people are saying it. It's like, you'll get it. You'll get it.
It's not that hard.
No. No.
Yeah, you just need to hear things a couple of times.
Yeah, but that's what our people were, you know, that's what we lived in. We didn't live in teepees. We lived in longhouses. There's a door on each end, fire in the middle, and that's what our villages were made up of, longhouses. And today we refer to longhouses on our territories as, you know, a place to do our cultural practices and ceremonies. So so when we say we have longhouse, you know, that's what it means. But originally, that's what we lived in. That's what we did everything with. So that's why we refer to ourselves as that. So there are 6 nations. It is okay to say 6 nations. A lot of people do say 6 nations. President Biden just referred to us 6 nations, probably because he couldn't say Haudenosaunee. So we'll take it. We'll take it. So anyway, you know, the 6 nations are comprised of Seneca Nation, you know, Cayuga, which is what we are, Onondaga Nation, Oneida Nation, Mohawk, and Tuscarora. So those are the 6 nations. There's 5 original nations, and that's what is our flag, what our flag represents. So you look at our flag, it's purple. You know, we have the 2 squares, you know, the tree piece in the middle and 2 more squares. Really, that's representing all our Confederacy. That's what that flag represents, because it's a treaty. It's a treaty belt. You know, it was back then we didn't do contracts. We didn't do none of that. Everything was done orally. So a way to memorialize our agreements with the governments was to put it in treaties and what it represented. So if you look at the flag itself, you know, the furthest left is Seneca Nation. Then the next one is Cayuga. Middle is Onondaga. Next one Oneida. Next one Mohawk. But if you take that belt or flag and you put it across New York State, it depicts each location of each nation. So it meant so much more. And the belts ourselves, you know, themselves, the most purple, that was because they were made out of wampum beads. The most purple in our belts were the most significant. And that's one of the most purple ones we have. It was our peace amongst each other. So 5 arrows, you know, banding together. We were all separate at one time. We were weaker because we were fighting. But when we come together, you know, that's the whole concept of the 5 arrows. And you'll see it on the dollar bill, the eagles hold the arrows. That comes from us. The government itself is based off our Confederacy. So you take one arrow out, easily snap it, it's broke. But you band together, you can't really snap it.
I love that.
So that was the whole concept of that flag and coming together.
Yeah. So, question about the stick. I felt like there was a significant part. It almost, again, I relate a lot of things to the martial arts because that's my background.
Yeah.
And I did karate, judo, jiu-jitsu my whole life. But jiu-jitsu originated from the samurai, and the samurai sword was a big deal to the samurai. And it's almost like, makes me think the lacrosse stick is a big, it's almost like the equivalent to the samurai sword. Can you talk a little bit about the stick and its significance or what it means and things like that?
Well, I feel like for like boys that are from birth or get brought up into this world and everything, like right from birth, a lot of them are born with a wooden stick. So like they take care of that. It's kind of like, I feel like in a way, a birthright, not birthright into the game, but like belonging into the game, and that's how sacred like lacrosse is to them. But I feel like for women, it's just different though, because I mean, I feel like the way we were brought up by our parents, that my dad has played in the medicine game, and he knows that, you know, girls lacrosse is different than the medicine game, and it's not the same, but to kind of carry the same principles that you would in a medicine game into, girls field lacrosse game. So I think with the lacrosse stick, it does have a lot of importance because it helps you through the game, I would say.
Yeah, I think, that's where they say the spirit comes from, because the hickory, the traditional lacrosse sticks were made from wood, typically hickory, and that comes from the earth, from Mother Earth. The ball itself originally was made out of deer hide, wrapped, and that's where the medicine was in the ball. And then the stringing came from animal hide. So it all, involves, again, more to it than just what you see. And that's where they say the spirit really comes from, because it is tied to Mother Earth. So a stick is very sacred, especially to our men, the traditional wooden stick. So that's, where they have the medicine. So typically, men can be very stingy of their sticks, and they don't want. Yeah, some in box lacrosse, some still play with their wooden sticks. They're pretty. Usually, it's the defenders really.
Right.
But they, we typically don't touch the wooden sticks. When I grew up playing, I had a wooden stick, but it was a wooden girls lacrosse stick. They were like tennis rackets back then. But I had my own wooden stick, and that's later on, of course, we got better with technology and everything's plastic. So I still have it. It's in our shop and hanging there and whatnot. But for the men, once you play in that medicine game, that medicine is on that stick. So, we typically stay away from that because, the belief is, as women, because we menstruate, that, the blood that we menstruate could kill the medicine on the stick. So that's a lot of reason why some people don't think women should play, because we basically could kill that medicine, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. I do want to dive into the women piece, and I have some questions with that. But before, two quick things. One, so the men, they're born and they die with the stick?
Yep. So with the stick, typically, if you're a lacrosse player, the stick goes right in the casket with you. And the thought is that they're in the sky world. They go to transcend to the sky world, and they can play out there.
That's awesome. And then, what was the other question? So is there a backstory behind, I feel like I remember hearing something like the Creator's Game, and there was a story where, before people were on Earth or something. Is there a story that goes to the game as well?
The animal game?
I'm not sure.
There's a tale about. Do you know the details about the animal game?
I haven't heard it in a long time.
I know. So basically, they're, before, there's a.
And you don't have to have an answer either.
No, but the Haudenosaunee, but it's kind of cool too, because it's like a Haudenosaunee tale.
Right.
That people, and Sid Jimerson does a great job. He does this at the LaxCon every year, just about to tell the story about the animals. So there was, the turtle, a deer, a bear. So it's animals versus birds. So everything that we do in our culture, because, we can get into the clans a little bit. Like I told you, we're Bear Clan. We have birds and we have animal clans. So they typically, mostly all our ceremonies, we, help each other out through everything. It just keeps balance. So, but the story goes is that it was the animals against the birds. So the bird was eagle, hawk, and one more bird. I can't think of what it is. And it was the turtle, the bear, and the deer. So the bear's like, gritty, and they're like, we got the bear, and then the turtle has the slow but has the tough shell, so anything won't hurt it. And then the deer so fast and agile that that was the strength. So the birds, were I can't remember the last bird, but then there was a mouse and a squirrel that wanted to play. But they're like, you got no wings. So they say that, they found leather from a water drum or something, leather, or I'm pretty sure that's what it was. and they stretched it out so much that they attached it to the mouse, and they said, okay, now you have wings, so you can be part of our bird, and that's where they say the bat came from. And then the other part was the squirrel. They didn't have enough leather for the squirrel, so they kept stretching the squirrel skin out so much that, you know, it could fly. So that became the flying squirrel.
Flying squirrel.
Yeah, so there's this, and then in the end, basically, I think it was a squirrel that wins the game for them, or the bat, one of the two. And the whole, you know, purpose of the story is to say it don't matter, you know, who you are, you know, everybody has a purpose, and everybody, we include everybody. It's kind of cool because it's diversity, you know what I mean? They're including, it's inclusion. So and that's kind of like the story behind it. But originally, you know, the game came to our people in visions and dreams, and that's how they, you know, they say the creator gave it to us. It was a gift to our people, and that's how they learned to play the game. And you know, the game is really for his entertainment, his enjoyment, and it's to help, you know, with the medicine and help our people.
Yeah. When you say medicine, is there any particular piece of medicine, or just generally speaking, like the health of the people?
Yeah, sometimes it's individual. It's for specific people who need it, or even children. Yeah,
So if someone's sick, would you play a game?
Some people do. Some communities do. I know in some communities, I know Onondaga, they have a game every spring for all their men and boys and of all ages and sizes. Wow. Yeah, so it's for their community.
So jumping into a little bit of like any historical milestone. So how long has the game been played? Go ahead.
The earliest record is 1100.
Love it. Yeah, love it. So you definitely take the title way before the French. So tell the French, get out of here.
Yep, exactly.
French, get out of here. I was listening to the Spirit Game show, and the I gotta be honest, I have no ties, so I could say anything on here, but the French coach was frustrating me a bit with some of his comments.
Oh yeah.
I won't lie.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's very similar to hockey. We created our own version, which is box. Yeah, you created your own version, but give credit where credit's due.
Yes.
Like don't do that. Don't do that. That's not cool.
Right.
It was very frustrating to watch that piece. But so yeah, he can eat that. So we got 1100.
Yes, exactly. Well, they have like 3 versions, original versions for like the Anishinaabe had a version of stickball that was similar to ours, and so I think what was the Cherokee also have stickball. They still play stickball.
Right.
But our version, the Haudenosaunee version, is the version that everybody plays today. So it's different, you know what I mean? So, but there are other indigenous nations that have a version of lacrosse.
So in New York City, would you say the indigenous groups are playing lacrosse or no?
No, we don't really have a lot of indigenous people down there that originated. No, I shouldn't say originate. We did originate there.
Right.
But that are currently like have reservations or territories. Yeah. So yeah, we don't really. I know there's tribes down there, but they're not as big into lacrosse as the Haudenosaunee.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, all right, so it started back then, and were there any other maybe big milestones along the way that you could maybe highlight? It doesn't have to be all of them, but just anything that comes to mind.
Well, 1904 and 1908 was when it was first in the Olympics.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's when it was first in the Olympics.
1904, 1908. So it was already in the Olympics before this, which this is another historical milestone.
Yes.
And who played that? But so then it wasn't Haudenosaunee Nation representing itself.
No, I don't even think it was. I have to do the research because it wasn't. I don't know where they were listed as Iroquois or what they're listed as. And then there was exhibitions in 1928, and then I think it was like 58 or whatever. But it's been around a long time, and I think the main thing is like we had to grow the game for all international communities to be able to play it. So to be recognized internationally as a sport, to be included in the Olympics, because there's a huge gap in there between 1904 and today where there wasn't a lot of countries.
Right.
So they really ramped up efforts, I'd have to say, in the 10 years.
Was the first World Games, was that I feel like 2015 stands in my head from something. This is me like watching the documentaries and stuff, like trying to put it all together. But
we hosted.
Like you hosted the World Games in 2015.
Yep.
That's what it was.
And we also didn't get to go to Scotland.
Yes.
Because of our Haudenosaunee passports. The UK didn't recognize our Haudenosaunee passports. So we couldn't go to the tournament. We found out 3 days before, which was tough.
Yeah.
And then like in 2017, London hosted it in Guildford, England, I want to say it was. And we traveled on our Haudenosaunee passports there, which was like a big thing.
Huge.
It like took so much work for the people that had done that, and I think that was like a really big milestone for us, and it was like all credit to those people who were working really hard. Like Kathy Smith, Tia Schindler. They did a lot to help us get to that point.
Because prior to that, in 2011, our men were stuck in New York City because they're supposed to fly to New York City to go to England.
Tell them stop at my house next time. I'll have coffee and everything set up for them. No.
Was it 2011 or 2010?
I want to say it was 2011.
Yeah, so then they all of a sudden, England's like, nope, can't come. We're not accepting your passports. Because post 9/11, everything started clamping down on, Homeland Security and all that stuff. So our men were stuck there for, I think they were trying to work with all the consulates and embassies and you name it, and they couldn't go.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why when they finally went 2017, it was a huge milestone because it was like we couldn't get into England prior.
Right.
To
so
get
they
with our
accepted the
passports.
passport in 2017.
Yeah, but it took forever to get there. We flew out of Toronto, and I got pulled up to the women's team. What did you say? Like a month and a half or 2 months before
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So she told me I was going. So we ended up going. We had to go up to Toronto and get our visas, which I remember that took forever. And then we ended up going to Toronto to the airport. We got all of our gear there. It was kind of just disorganized in a way, but I think because there was so much more priorities on that list, such as getting into England, and they were working so hard that was their main priority, which was totally understandable. So we get into the Toronto airport, and I'm not kidding you, we probably got there 7-8 hours before our boarding time.
Wow.
And we didn't get on that plane till probably, I would say, 20 minutes. We were cutting it so close, 20 minutes before takeoff, because Toronto, Canada, we're not going to let us over.
Wow.
There, yeah.
So we're having to work on that now.
Yeah.
To go to Hong Kong this year, because we're going on our passports. So it's gonna be we're already engaged with immigration, all that stuff. So we have to follow a longer process just for them to honor our passports.
In the most recent thing, Joe Biden, what happened with that?
Yeah, so he endorsed us and supported us, thinks we should play under our own flag for the Olympics.
So cool.
Super cool.
So cool.
We were scrambling. Yeah. It was so crazy. All of a sudden, they called up a couple other guys on our board, and everybody was on a call and what's going on, and it was really cool, but then you had to be careful. We want to make sure he was saying the right things. We don't want to annoy the IOC because it's really up to the IOC, but having his endorsement was huge.
Right.
Yeah.
So is it official with the IOC is the Olympic Committee?
Yep. It's the International Olympic Committee. So they've already said, when they initially said lacrosse is going to be in the Olympics, they've already made a statement that says if the Indigenous nations want to play lacrosse, they either have to pretty much try out for Canada or USA. Yeah, so that's where we're wait a minute, and we got a lot of people who want to help, who are helping, that we're really grateful for, and we're just really, we're just gonna be persistent. So
fingers crossed.
Fingers
that's
crossed.
Not official
yes,
yet.
but
Okay.
we're just trying to work within the protocols and parameters that they have in place. So yeah, we're really hoping.
And if so, are you going to play in the Olympics or what?
I think I'll be my prime.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm 23 right now. The LA Games are in 2028. So, I mean, if I can and if I make that team, then yeah. But if not, then I will feel good enough to know that I feel like I helped partake in a couple steps to get there. But also, there's like so many amazing, like talented younger girls that are coming up, and it's so exciting to see. So, regardless, I really hope we get in there, and I'll be super excited to watch, those young girls.
So, but you've played in the World Games already?
Yeah.
Right?
In Birmingham, Alabama, in
Nice.
2022.
Love it. And did I read somewhere that, I don't know if it was both of you, but you played with one of your daughters?
Yes.
Was it
Yes.
both of you?
No, it was just my older sister.
Oh, okay.
She was too young at the time, so
Yeah.
yeah, it was my
In a World Game?
yes, the World
That's
Cup.
cool.
Yeah, World Championship. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was only 17. My oldest, she was only 17 at the time, but she was a good player.
How old were you, if you don't mind me asking?
39.
39.
I
and
was
you were
30.
still
Well,
in
so
it.
I was on the team, the World Cup before that went to Prague 4 years earlier.
Right.
I was on the team, and lo and behold, I was pregnant with my 5th child.
Wow.
So, I was just kind of like really, really upset, but, blessed in the same, time. Like,
of
well,
course.
it's just not meant to be. I got another, I was pretty upset because I worked really hard to stay fit. Because as you get older, you really got to work extra hard. You guys will see that soon.
No, I know.
So, yeah, so I feel like, but, my husband really helped me through that because, I said, I'm going to be too old, come the next World Cup. And he's
Right.
like, he says, you don't get old because you quit playing. He goes, you get old because, or what did he say?
I know. My mother just
You-
said it.
Yeah.
She literally just said that
You don't
recently.
quit
It's
playing because you get old. You get old because you quit playing.
Yeah, my
And when
mother
he's-
just sent me that
yeah,
today.
it
That's
was
funny.
my motto.
Yeah.
So that became my motto, and worked extra hard and got on the team. And then she wanted to play, and I was like, I think you're too young. You got to play in a U20 team next. But, we found out through the rules she could do both. So she tried out, and she made the team.
That's awesome. So how does the, jumping into, women's lacrosse a little bit more, does the community accept it as a whole? Do they not? Is it 50-50? Because from my understanding, historically, women did not play the game, and I guess I don't know, maybe you could speak more to it, but is it accepted or no? I sense,
Well,
I sense something.
I feel like it depends on like who you're talking to
Okay.
for the most part. And I think there's some places where you go out and there's still people who don't believe that girls should play lacrosse, which is totally fine because that's their perspective and that's what they grew up learning. And I think that's something where you got to respect that. But then there are also some places where I feel like where we live on the Cayugas reservation that I think it's more accepted than it would be as if you were going to go out Onondaga or somewhere like Tonawanda, where they are still very, very, I would say that they're very, I mean, all communities are very traditional, but I think that those two are, and a couple others obviously that are more, not hard on their ways, but
Yeah, they're just more adamant about
Yeah.
women not playing, and the funny part is that I think a lot of our people, I mean, back when my oldest was, starting to do well and really get
Right.
on the scene, she got a lot of backlash on Facebook, social media, and bullying, really.
Within the community.
Yes, within our own community. And, she had dealt with it too a little bit. Not as much as the oldest.
Yeah, I think
the
she-
oldest really went through it.
she probably got the worst out of it,
Yeah.
all of us.
So
She's the first, well, or you might have been the first, but I guess
Yeah,
on
but-
social media.
But there was no social media
Right.
back then, where nowadays, people can just like,
Yeah.
cut you at the knees.
Yeah.
So she really dealt with a lot through that, and she just kept playing, and it took her places, and she became, pretty well known, and I think that helped blaze the trail, especially for her sister and the younger ones. People are really made their name, and what I think they see is that these women who are playing is taking them places. She went to Syracuse and she went to Clemson, You know, so it's taken our kids places, and they're good kids, and they're doing very well for themselves. So I think people don't, you know, want to tear people down like that. I mean, they may still not believe, and they may still not agree with it, which is fine, but they're not as vocal about it. And actually, I know people that, you know, I respect wholeheartedly, and I know they don't like girls playing lacrosse, but they'll support my daughters, and they'll support our teams, you know, and they won't, you know, let their girls play, but they're supportive, which I really appreciate, because just that alone, you know, has come a long way. It's really just agreeing to disagree and just being respectful about it. And that's where I think it's at today. You know, not many people will really come right out and say, I don't think girls should play. Right. I mean, some people...
And I feel like if they do, though, like, that's fine. You know, like, that's their opinion and everything, too. And it's kind of like you just got to respect it at one point. I think not many people, like, would agree that girls should play lacrosse, because they say that, you know, we are in a matrilineal society, and that, like, as women, you have so much power because you can bring life into this world. And lacrosse is a very physical game. Like, it translates to, like, they bump hips, and they kind of look at it also as, like, women can get hurt, and they could maybe, like, not bring life into this world and stuff, because there's more to it in that aspect. So I think we see it as that, but also both of us growing up playing lacrosse, we know that it's a totally different game than medicine game, or like box lacrosse, or men's field lacrosse. Like, it's physical, and there's a lot of stuff there, but it's not as physical as the men's game too. But I just know, like, for me personally, like, my dad's side, like, they're, I would say, very, very traditional in a way, and in a way that they still support me playing lacrosse and my siblings playing lacrosse. And
are they the same clan? Not different?
Oh yeah, like, everybody would have different clans, because it goes by, like, their mothers and stuff.
Gotcha.
In that way. But I think having the support of, like, your family members, and knowing that it's okay from them, like, for me, like, that's all that matters in a way. Like, I have supports from, like, my grandpa, and, like, my grandmas, and my great aunts, and my uncles, that it doesn't really matter what other people say, because I know that they support me in that way. So
yeah, it's difficult. It's hard. I don't know all the religious or cultural or spiritual pieces to comment on all of that, but when I think of medicine, right, like you said, it's the medicine game, and it's healing, and it would be healing for everyone, right? Everybody who plays would get, I mean, again, I don't know all the pieces about the medicine, and, you know, because you mentioned the piece about the menstrual cycle, like, I'm not sure the spiritual pieces, but my interpretation of medicine is the health that it brings to my body. And women would benefit from that too, you know, being able to play and be able to be healthy. You know, I don't know what a day-to-day life looks like for all of you, but I know in New York City, a lot of people spend most of their day sitting. So, you know, anytime you could get the opportunity to move your body, I'm always inspiring people to move, and women need to move too. So,
yes, exactly.
But yeah, just out of curiosity, does it ever make you feel a bit left out, like, or that it's unfair, or anything like that?
Absolutely, it does. And I think, you know, we've gotten used to it.
Right.
You know, especially myself. Like, I've been playing since I was 12, and, you know, I've been playing many years, and through different rule changes, the evolution of the game, I've seen so much through the years. It's been really awesome. And like I said, I'm the way that we get the support now is a lot better than what it used to be, because it did make you feel left out. It did make you feel like you didn't matter and you weren't valued, you know, and even if you loved the game and you're good at it, it just wasn't good enough. And you really had to, like she said, you know, really wrap your mind around it, but then understand, like, does that really matter what they think of me? What matters is what I think of myself. And that comes from within. So, like, we all have a piece of the Creator within us. So, and the game is for His enjoyment. So the more that we can honor our bodies, you know, taking good care of our bodies, and honor the game, you know, we're honoring the Creator, and honoring the Creator within us. So that alone, I think, when you can really believe in that and feel that, I think that won't make you feel left out. It won't make you feel isolated, because you know you feel it.
Yeah.
Like, how can you something you love so much be so wrong? Like, it's not right. You know what I mean? So it's hard, and
my favorite, I guess, philosophy or principle here is Ziggy Marley's song, "Love Is My Religion."
Yeah.
If you feel good, if it feels right. I mean, now, of course, there's things that, cookie tastes good, but too many cookies could be bad, right?
Yeah.
So, but generally speaking, if love is there, and you know that feeling intuitively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
I also feel like going back on like that left out piece, like it's sad to say, but I think there's a lot of limited opportunities, like just in general being a woman. And I think for me, like going off to school was something that was crazy to me because, you're here and you're playing at this like program, but there are still some different expectations, I feel like, for like men. Like they have a higher expectation, whereas like the woman, it's not seen as equal. So that's why obviously they installed like Title IX and all those things. But I think what's really important though, and what I love about just playing sports, but also playing with Haudenosaunee, is that you're tied together with other strong women that are surrounded with you, that are on the same mission with you and like love the same sport that you love. And I think that's so much more meaningful, that putting on that jersey, like you can never take that away. And something, and also just having people around you. Like I'm surrounded by strong women my whole entire life. Like my mom, my grandmas, like my aunts, my uncles, or not my uncles. My cousins.
Nowadays anything's possible.
I know. Like my cousins and my sisters and my teammates. So it's, I think in a way it does feel left out. But when you start surrounding yourself with people that are on the same mission as you and have the same passion that you do, that it doesn't get so lonely after a while.
Yeah, that's awesome. In New York City, every time we create an opportunity with physical movement, let's say, for example, you create a boys basketball team, you have to create a girls basketball team. Yeah. Or it has to be co-ed. So all the opportunities in New York City, you have to have, in New York City public schools at least, where I see it most. So yeah, there's movement in that direction too, and all around. And like you said, when something feels good, like I think about the world oftentimes as like it should be like a buffet, in the sense of maybe there'll be a lot of women who don't want to play lacrosse, right? Yeah. But the fact that they have the opportunity to play, and that if you want to, you can, and if you do feel good and you enjoy it, right? So the buffet is there, for example, and I might choose steak and someone else might choose chicken, but whatever it is, you have that opportunity just as much as me. And will more men at the buffet eat steak? Maybe. Will more women not eat steak? Maybe statistically, I don't know. But the fact that if a woman wants to eat steak, why not? The buffet's open, and if someone enjoys it and it makes them feel good, again, that intuitive piece is super important when I think about it. So one of the questions that I wanted to ask, the community is relatively small compared to other places that get a pool. Like a big thing I notice in New York City too is the schools that have the bigger schools tend to have the better players, just because you have more to pull from. Like, how do you think that your team is able to compete on this world level, even when you have a small pool to pull from? Like, because you're doing it. So how do you think that is able to happen? What do you think is maybe the thing that allows you to play at such a world-class level, even with a small population to choose from?
Yeah, when I saw that question, like I never even thought about that. Like I think partaking in tryouts, it is a smaller pool, but I never thought of like how we are able to like compete. But I think a lot of us just kind of, this might just sound very general, but just go out and play and like go and have fun. But we have more opportunities than we did back then, and I think when my mom did back then and my older sister, it gets getting better and better for each player, that we start taking those opportunities, whether it's like going off to play for a travel team or going off to play with like Team Haudenosaunee or going off to play to college, that we're able to bring it back to our national team. And I think we just keep growing and growing and just getting exponentially better. But I think there's a lot of kids now that are going to prep school. So there's a lot of more opportunities that I think that are helping us compete, even though we still have a small pool to choose from. But I think that's also like a big reason what's helping us out And I know like on many different reservations, there's so many different programs that are starting kids to play young. Like I know we had Seneca Girls Lacrosse Club, and then there's Haudenosaunee Ride up north that have really, you know, produced a lot of really good lacrosse players that are going off to school, and even other little club programs that a lot of us are a part of. But I think a lot of our girls are very committed to just go off. If we have to drive 2.5 hours to go play at a club team, then they're going to go do it because they just want that opportunity to play at the highest level.
I also think like it, because it's so embedded in our community and our culture, that she has an opportunity to play with her mom and dad. You know, we can give her coaching. We played. We had backyard games. You don't typically see that in someone who's like in Buffalo. You know, because so many families are involved with lacrosse. I mean, you'll see lacrosse games at a pickup. You'll see lacrosse games, you know, certain areas other than regular, you know, games. You'll see kids at our box, you know, outside box, just shooting around constantly. You know, always have their stick in their hands. And you know, they're born with their stick, especially the boys, you know. So they're able to just say, hey, everyone, grab a stick, meet you down at the field, meet you down at the box, let's do pickup games. It's like basketball for us. They can just do pickup, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why I think too, it's just so big, and or not so well. It is, the sport is big, but for our people, it's just, that's why I think, because they get to play all the time. Their uncles played, you know, now their aunties probably play, you know. It's just, it's able to help, you know, it's like the whole community is fostering our kids playing, and they support it, so they play more. You know, when we have little girls' games in the summer, there's tons of parents and grandparents, all on the side, grandparents, you know, everywhere. They just love it. And the little kids' game in the summer for the little boys in the box, tons, arena full of family, communities, watching our little tykes and peanuts. It's so amazing. And they just love their kids, you know, so it fosters that loving feeling, playing the game, and helps make our kids feel valued and seen. And then when you have awesome players on the scene like Lyle Thompson or Zeddy Williams, you know, that are really, now you got role models, you know, you have idols for these kids, so they just really, and they're good people too, and that's what makes it so much easier. So that's where I feel, you know, the kids just are constantly out back with their stick. You can go through our territory now, reservation, and you can probably, you know, see probably a net on the backyard, probably every other house, or every 3 houses, you know. It's just, they're always playing.
Also, even just like going to box games in the summertime is so much fun. Like just going with a group of your friends and like going down to, like, on our reservation, it's called the Gillet Arena, well, where it used to be, and like those games used to be packed. Like I remember when my dad used to play, and like all the little kids are running around, and it's just such a good atmosphere to be around. And now they're at the Confederacy Community Center too, but even going up Canada and watching like Junior A and Senior A, like those box games are so fun to watch. So it's just like constantly like being around it all the time, that even though you're not playing, you're watching it, and if you're not watching it, you're playing it.
Yeah, I'm constantly trying to get people to rethink the design of their life, right? And how do you design fitness into your life? Like, you think about that there. You don't even once it's there, you kind of don't even have to think about it anymore, right? Like you said, the kids are playing, the parents are playing. It's just a part of the culture. It's just there all the time. When I was growing up, I was a very street Brooklyn kid, and we were always playing in the streets. Like, why can I run fast? Well, we played tag, we played this, we played that. It was always, you know, and there wasn't ever, I never went to the gym and worked out or did anything like that. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to the gym, but just that idea of culture, that it's embedded in the culture. And then people are seeing, right, the elders and other people play as well. It's just the culture, and it's a whole different thing, you know. For me, I said the martial arts my whole life too, and I did it with my whole family. My brothers are still in it, my nephew, my father still teaches the classes, and there's just this whole different feeling when you're doing it. It's not like I'm going for a workout. It's just like, you know, when they say the way of life, you know. So my thought was, and you both said it, so my intuition was a little bit, I feel like it was on point in that, like, yeah, it's like embedded in that culture, and when you're doing it all the time, you're going to be good at it. One thing in the documentary that they said was that the team is very unique sometimes too with the things that, and they said, yeah, well, when you play all day, like, and you're doing maybe weird tricks, or it's an untraditional style or whatever it may be, that it's now become play for you too, and even in a large stage arena. There's like a really cool behind the back one on there.
Yep.
But yeah, so like, you know, I don't know what that means for everybody else listening, but just how do you build that culture of movement at home in general? But it's nice to see that it's being done, you know, and it's nice to see how it impacts your community as well. So there was one quote, I keep bringing up the documentary, I want to word it correctly, I have it written here. It said, we lost many games, but we're never defeated. And that was, tell me his name again.
Oren Lion.
That quote, do you feel he was on point with that quote? What do you think?
It was a beautiful quote.
Yeah.
Because again, it's more than the game he's talking about. You know what I mean? It's more about who we are as people. It's about our recognition, our sovereignty, our history. Our history's role is part of the game. We're the creators of it, but there's a lot of history that's forgotten too. You know, and you know, the residential schools, those things that have really done a lot of damage to our culture and really our people, and a lot of traumatization there. And what he's talking about is we've lost many games, but we're still here. It goes more into the game. We went through residential schools. We've been oppressed. We had so much trauma through the government, colonization. And what he's saying is we've lost many of those battles, but we're still here. And this is our game. And this is going to be our voice and what's going to elevate us as people.
I love it. I'm rooting.
Yep.
I hope we get the 2028 Olympics in there. There's an old Rocky quote, and it said something like, it's not how many times you get hit.
We just watched Rocky like a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
She like sat me down.
Yeah,
she was like,
watch this part.
Yeah.
It's not how many times.
Was that the quote? How many times? It's not how many
hit.
times you can hit. It's how many times you can get hit and keep pushing forward.
Yep.
And it's
how
true
many
that.
times you can. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's exactly it.
Exactly.
Right.
Totally.
I had a question also about. In my last episode, I had a gentleman on. The episode was called Peak Mental Game, and we were just talking about like a mindset and how to perform at your best and thinking about the mental pieces. And two components he mentioned was resilience and composure. And I felt like the team, you think about, for example, not being able to get in, to the UK, they didn't accept passports or this, that. But there was still this like elegance of like, there's a keeping the composure. We're not gonna go blow for blow. We're gonna play the game the way when we finally get that opportunity. It seems like the team is really a great model for resilience and composure. And where do you think that comes from, I guess, or how do you think you're able to maintain that character even in hard times?
I just feel like it comes down to like the people in our culture and like where we come from. Like a big thing of who we are is like we're people that are often like always giving thanks. Like we're very thankful people. And when we have a ceremony or we have a get together, like they do the Ganonyok, where you're giving thanks for everything on this earth, going from the people to the waters to the medicine to the animal, like working your way all the way up to like the stars, the winds, and then to our creator. So I think when you get those opportunities to like stay composed, you always kind of remember, what you're thankful for, that you could even play lacrosse or that you can walk on that day or that you woke up that day. So I think it really comes down to, the gratitude aspect on top of like everything that we've been through. But I know even when I was at school, like playing college lacrosse was like probably something that was so hard, but like something that like I was so grateful for. I mean, my college career definitely didn't go the way that I planned, but I think there's so many things that I wouldn't trade for the world, and it's kind of just falling back in love with the game and like remembering why I started playing, and it was kind of just for, representing my people, but also remembering that there's people that can't play. But, like, that's the thing though, is like when
Yeah.
they came out in residential schools, and I remember like I was at Syracuse and I had a head coach, you know, she came in my senior year and she was very understanding of like where the game come from, and it's very awesome to have people like that aren't Indigenous but still respect the game of lacrosse and the people. But I just felt that they really understood the message of, you know, residential schools and how much natives have gone through, and honoring those people and honoring the unmarked graves of the people that passed away, and kind of just carrying on, you know, the resilience that they had. And I think that could spread whether if you're native or non-native, but it's just kind of educating yourself on the residential schools as well, as long as also like the history of our people and like what we've been through, because there's more to that than just, you know, Indigenous people who play lacrosse.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem with the education system now, because they don't tell that story. You know, they talk about Thanksgiving when it comes to Native Americans, and we're all hunky-dory, all that stuff. So those are inaccurate, but the web, of course, you know, has so much more information now, and, you know, going to each tribal website to understand the history of that particular, you know, nation, you know, tribal nation, you know, would be due diligence on anyone's part that wants to learn more about Indigenous people.
Well, you go like off the reservation and it's kind of crazy because like you don't think that it's such a different world, but it is. Like I know probably in the workplace or going to school. I remember I was in a lecture one time and I said that like where I came from, I grew up on a reservation, and the girl was like, "What do you mean a reservation?" I was like, "Well, I'm Native American." She goes, "Those still exist?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's just crazy that some people like just don't know our history and that we're still here. So I think it's something so powerful that lacrosse can do, because it does give us a voice on top of the voice that we already have. So I think it's just using this sport in a way to, like, not using it, but it's allowing us to have a bigger platform than we ever had in the past. So it's giving us a voice stronger than ever.
I love it. So if somebody wanted to support, what's maybe the best way? Are people able to come watch a game on the reservation? People are allowed to do that? Or how does that work? Is there a way to support or show support, show up for a game? Is there a museum where people can educate themselves? Is there, like, what would you say is a way that people can support or stay connected or learn more?
Yeah, there's several ways. The spirit game is a good start. The video. I think there's another documentary too besides the spirit game. I don't really remember the name of it. And then we have, like, you know, if you go to Haudenosaunee National's website, you'll find some information there. We also have a donation code there that you can donate to our nonprofit. So there's a way you can support us there. There's also different reservations that have their own local teams. Typically, it's more play in the summer, obviously, because the winter's here, you know. But it's more like it's box lacrosse is huge in our communities, and to go watch a box lacrosse game, people love it.
What are the different kinds? It's box lacrosse.
So there's box lacrosse, and then there's the full field, which is, what is it, 12-12 or 10?
International.
12-12 international. Then, and that's the college lacrosse, you'll see that. Then there is sixes, which is the new discipline for the Olympic model. So now there's a lot of sixes tournaments that are everywhere now. And we don't really have a league for that yet, but, you know, there's several tournaments in the, throughout, you know, the country that are popping up here and there, especially internationally. So, and we got invited to one in Hong Kong, but it's like, you know.
Yeah.
And then you have the medicine game too.
Yeah.
Yes. And then ultimately the medicine game, which is our traditional.
Oh, so that would be you would say that's a different version, different rules, played a different way.
No
the
rules,
medicine game.
Yeah. Strictly for our men.
Oh, strictly for the men. Damn men.
It's good though. It's good. It does good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all good for them.
So so is there? You know, I know like when you hosted the 2015 World Games there, is that stadium still there? Do
Yeah.
people play there?
Yep,
Can
every
people
summer.
buy a ticket from outside and go
Yeah.
watch a game?
You could they actually do admission right at the door. So like they'll charge, I don't know, maybe like $10 to get
Yeah,
in.
they'll have they host a lot of tournaments there too.
Yeah.
So like non-natives will go and play, but only guys can play there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But you could see a good game.
Yeah,
You know,
you
pretty
can
exciting.
still go and watch, but
Yeah.
And
it's
that's on the
cool.
reservation.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
Right near Syracuse there.
it's a really nice facility too.
Gotcha. So as we come to a close, one of the final questions I kind of wanted to touch on, I was having some fun with this with my nephew about the animal names and stuff like that. I don't know too much about it, but it seems to me, does everybody get a nickname? Or or because you said the bears or does each person or each nation, or I don't know how it works.
So, so go ahead.
Yeah, so
You-
we're in a matrilineal society. So when you're born, you go by your mom. So because I'm Cayuga Bear, it's because my mom's Cayuga Bear, and it's because her mom's Cayuga Bear. So it comes down to like what nation you belong to, and then you'll get the clan from them. But then if you are born into those clan, and then it's kind of like hard to explain, but then you attend Longhouse, then you'll get a name within that clan. So like we'll have like a bear name. So like my bear name is Oneidas. And then my brother got his, and his is Widechios. And then, but then my dad's turtle, and his is Haudenosaunee. So there's like different ones where like I have like cousins, and one of them he's Hawk, and it's Dagatnonjay. And there's like so many different names that, it depends on what clan you are.
Yeah.
And then if like you attend Longhouse, and then you don't just get it when like you're born, like you have to still like go to our ceremonies and follow our ways.
So it's
I would
most,
say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mostly traditionally, but we are a matrilineal society for sure, and everything is. Even the women, they put our chiefs up. Right where we live, we don't have a chief, but that's what the Onondaga Nation, where the Grand Council is, they put their chiefs up. So if the women, don't agree, the chief's doing a bad job, they can take the chief down.
The women.
The women, the clan mothers. So each, there's
I
a
like
clan
that.
mother, yeah. So like there's a clan mother for each clan. So for where we come from, there's, for the animals, it's bear, turtle, beaver, and
Bear, turtle, beaver, wolf.
Wolf.
And then for the birds, it's deer, snipe, heron, and hawk. I think that's it. And then out Onondaga, there's another clan that they have, which is Eel Clan, too.
And what did you say your name was? I want to say, I don't want to say nickname, but what did you
Native name, I guess you'd say.
Native name?
Onondagas.
Does it mean anything?
Yeah, it means the moccasin sticks.
And is there a reason you got that name?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, I don't think so.
What are the moccasin sticks?
Oh, so like the moccasin is like a type of footwear that we wear with like our traditional regalia. And then I think sticks as in like sticks to the floor. But like the way I kind of look at it is like a way of like being grounded in a way, like having your feet on the ground and like being where your feet are. That's my like kind of interpretation of it. So I kind of just take that and run with it.
Okay.
But
it could mean stand in your power.
true, yeah. Like we'll just add, but yeah. So that's my name, and then
Do you have one as well?
Yeah, mine's Ganonios.
And what is that?
It's an old name, so there's really no meaning. They lost the meaning to it. Yeah, so I got an old name.
Okay. Well, that in and of itself, I think, is meaningful.
Yeah.
Right? That you're carrying, I think, some piece of your ancestors there, even if you're not fully sure. It's still a piece of that. Yeah, I love it.
yeah.
I asked the animal piece, right? I asked my nephew yesterday what animal would you be, because he was watching part of it with me, and he's young, he's 13 years old, but they gave like, I don't know, I think they said, someone on the team is the deer because he's the leader, someone on the team's the bear because he's a little more aggressive. So I said, what do you want to be? He said, I'm the bear.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I said, well, what would you say I am? He goes, you're the wolf. I said, okay. I'm the wolf and he's the bear. So.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming on today. I wanted to make this happen, and you made it happen for me. So
Yes.
I really appreciate it. I appreciate your wisdom, your hospitality, And, I'm happy to get this episode going.
Awesome.
So-
Well,
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you
Yeah.
so much.